Okay, this is a storyline reading for Miss Mitchelle Blair. Miss Mitchelle Blair murdered her 2 children and put them inside of a freezer. Now let me just look and see the details as far as how long they was in the freezer. Let's just flow. She is constantly, not constantly, I mean currently incarcerated. I'm not sure if it's Texas. Let me just look. Miss Mitchelle Blair. Miss Mitchelle Blair. Mitchelle Blair. So here's a picture of Miss Mitchelle Blair. Here's a picture. Here's a picture of Miss Mitchelle Blair. If you can see her good, it's Miss Mitchelle Blair. Okay, let's just look. Let's see. Her children's name was Stoni and Blair, and Stephen. Either she 44 now or she was 44 at the time. She might be 44 now. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure. Okay, so let's just see for Miss Blair. When did this happen? So we have Stephen Gage. So let me just see for Miss Blair. Miss Blair had, at the time, 3 children was living with her. I think she had an older child. I'm just not sure. Let's just see. But 2 of them she killed because of they was molesting her younger child. I know that much. Let me just. It says Miss Mitchelle Blair, a mother of 4 from Detroit, Michigan, murdered 2 of her own children and kept their bodies in a freezer for almost 3 years in her home. The gruesome discovery was made on March 24, 2015 after 35-year-old mother was evicted from her apartment for failing to pay rent. Okay. So when her belongings was being removed, that's when it was the bodies was discovered. She served an eviction notice. So I can't remember exactly if they say the ages of the children, but I just don't remember right off. But she had a younger child and 2 older children. Well, not the her daughter Stoni and her other son. They don't have a lot of names. Let's see. Okay, Stephen. Okay, Stephen is the little boy who is alive who was abused. So we have Stoni and whoever the other child is, whatever. I don't see a name though. I just don't see a name. I don't know why, but they wouldn't put a name, but okay, she's sentenced to life in prison. So let me just do a storyline reading for Miss Blair. So the children was in the freezer for at least 4 years. Okay, universe gave me deck 9 for Miss Blair. Deck 9 for Miss Blair and index 10 for Miss Blair. Okay? These are abuse cards when you abuse someone or someone abuse you. These are when you hurt someone to the core or you murder someone. So I'm gonna flow for a minute. Wait a minute. Let me get this here. Okay, let's just go with storyline reading for Miss Mitchelle Blair, who murdered her 2 children because they molested her youngest child, the baby child, the youngest, whatever his age was. I just don't see the age, so I can't say. Okay, she had to have faith over all because she would need a miracle. Or the children would have to have faith over all because they needed a miracle. Because she is going to take all her power back. Because it said get away from the idiot. So, right here, if it's not something in jail she's dealing with, we can take it to her children back then. Whichever child she was dealing with, she is looking at as an idiot. And she wanted to take all the power back. Wait a minute. About that. Yeah, she is going to take all the power back because she was going to, I guess, take up for her youngest child because her youngest child couldn't seem to defend himself. So her 2 children at the time didn't know the cause of her anger, or the youngest child didn't know the cause of the other 2 children's actions. Here's some numbers, could be part of anything from a social, license, birthday, court date, or anything. It could be prison number, whatever, social, part of a phone number. Okay, it says it was no more time for lack in her life. Because at the time she was dealing with somebody who was sadistic, one of her children, or her. But that usually goes out, right? Somebody needed soul support. Okay. We had to ask ourselves, why do we settle for less? And dig deep and ask ourselves, why do we settle for less? So she dealing with, I don't know where she lived, a racist area, political area, or she's jailed at a place like that. Maybe she eat vegan or a certain kind of way, or some man going to ask her about how she eat or about her eating in general. Okay, it says right here, freedom was calling, but will she answer freedom? Because she had to seek what she was looking for. Because she is dealing with something cognizable, and help was a minute away, where she could call and communicate, call a counselor, call some place or whatever to help her with the children, because she is dealing with something like karma plague, and God wanted her to be strong, because she got along with different races of people, because somebody was tearing her down, or she is tearing somebody down to build herself up, but she had to start falling back in love with herself, God says. She was getting her freedom from a fortress. So it says right here that she wanted to get closer to a girl, but whoever the girl is gay. Okay, let's just flow for a minute. It might have something to do with jail instead of home, but let's just see. I'm bruised, but I'm still me inside. This would be Miss Blair. Back then, before she went to jail or in jail, she had to be calm and conquer this. Because she was dealing with a shark in jail or home. She felt like one of the children was a shark to her little boy. So it was transparent to her that she was going to make them a liability because she felt like they looked at her little boy as a liability, or in jail, some kind of way somebody looking at her as a liability, or she is, or the judge looking at her as a liability. Because it says right here, a spouse card, so I don't know if she broke up with their father, didn't get along with their father, anything as far as the father of these children or one of the children. When you lose a spouse to death, you are free. So if the person is not dead, one of the fathers of the children, a death came to their relationship. And it says right here that she had to heal her soul by coming forward. Because somebody was shortcutting this when you're touching all over someone to see if you can go all the way. So her two children, not older children, her two children, Stoni and they don't have the other name of her little boy, was touching on her youngest child to see if they could go all the way on what they was doing. She had to start being responsible for herself, for no more lad. Or she felt like her youngest son couldn't be responsible for himself, for no more lad. So she had to live her best life by getting healed, because she had to get healed from this situation for recovery for a brighter future. So her youngest child, her children that she murdered wanted her to take down the walls for love and cheat on their achievements, things that they do good, because they did some things bad, but they wanted her to think about what they did good. Take down the walls for love. Don't hurt them. Don't murder them. Forgive them. Anything like that. But God didn't want her to go in fast like a sailor, but have a wise mind. Because right here, why do parents walk away? So this would be the kids. I want to know who born me. So this usually when you're adopted, or you walk away from your children, or your child just don't know you because you're not around. So it's like she walked away from her children, because getting incarcerated, that's a choice you make. She made the choice. So it leaves her youngest child wondering and trying to figure out, how do I get to know my mother, because I don't know her. Let's just go. So was Miss Blair, was Miss Blair, or one of her what's her name, Stoni, was one of her children put in adoption any kind of way, like put in adoption for a little while or anything like that, or Miss Blair? Because here it is, it creates a monster, blaming it on being adopted or raised by somebody else, created a monster. Because unfortunately something didn't smell right to Miss Blair. Okay. Let's just go. So let's just see. I feel like Miss Blair had a psychotic break. I feel like she had a break when she heard, or whatever it was, about whatever, or was seen, or whatever. It just, I feel like she snapped. It just feels like that happened. Right? So, They noisy, I'm going to say, and some of them are green. You might can't see them good, but I'll just say it out loud. So when I heard this story before, or just even after I heard this story, it's just something is in my heart always go out and to the victims, the people who are the victims, and then they are children that go with it, and they victims, but victims in general. But it's something about Miss Blair to me that's pulling at my heart. Anytime I heard about or saw her some kind of way, because it seems like some kind of way she a victim herself. Not from the children, but a victim herself some kind of way. Feels like, but let's just flow. Look at this card. So we have for Miss Blair, Michelle Blair. You see on the internet, you'll see that she is called the Freezer Mom, but I'm calling Miss Blair. So this is Miss Blair. She is a 35-year-old mother at the time who murdered two of her children. She had 4 children because 2 of her children was molesting her youngest child. Okay, and she put them in a freezer after she murdered them one by one. Okay, however, so some kind of way a man gonna talk to her about her eating, maybe to eat healthy, or just what she eating in general. It might have been back then before she went to jail or during jail time, I don't know. Okay, because some kind of way she was distant. And she is dealing with a score loser. So I'm going to take this when it comes down to her children home. She is distant. Her mind was distant. Her mind was so separated from them that they was her kids when she went to murder them. She emotionally detached. And her children at that time was a score losers at that time, because she is emotionally detached. Well, either in jail some kind of way, she dealing with a score loser, whoever that is, that she gonna get distant from, or she is distant from, anybody like that. But God was saying, do she like this stuff? As far as anything home before she went to jail, or anything as far as in jail. Get out of this mess, something that was going on home or before jail. Home or jail, I'm sorry. Because at that time period, her children needed a miracle. And they needed to have faith overall. Or she needed a miracle in jail. Right? And have faith overall. Because some kind of way home, when she was home, she was going to get happy because she was going to fill out some kind of paperwork for something. Because I think at that time she was getting evicted. But she is going to get happy because something was going to go for her. If she would have filled, maybe if she would have filled out the paperwork, some kind of paperwork. Because you can stop an eviction, right? And she's going to get happy and things was going to turn out good for her, but she didn't get a chance to do it. Or something in jail. She's going to do some kind of paperwork, plea deal, or whatever. She's going to do something that's going to make her happy, or it happened already. Anything like that. Okay, it says right here that she was dealing with somebody who was starving for power. She had to make sure the person was an adult and don't just look like one that could fool her. Or we could take it to her. Her children was dealing with a person who was starving for power, and that would be Miss Blair. And she had to make sure that he or she, her children, was an adult and don't just look like one. Because it could fool her. So we talking about her children over here. So let's just float. Or somebody in jail she dealing with, right? God wanted her to have a wise mind and don't go on fast like a sailor. Or actually in jail with a situation seemingly something became a mountain at home. Or because eviction was coming and she had to get out. And or in jail with a situation with her and somebody. Okay. Because maybe the starving for power will be her landlord wanting, want to be paid or something maybe. She need a miracle maybe to be able to stay in the house and not be evicted. Anything like that. Anything like that. So it says right here that she had to become grown to what God created her to be at birth and not be molded by anyone. Or in jail she have to be the same way. Let her sounds be heard loud and clear. She was at home and she did what she need to. In jail, honestly. Because it says right here that no more time for lack. She had no more time for lack, home or in jail. She is going to bring happiness to everybody and get along with everybody. All races and anybody at home or in jail. So we have it was transparent that the landlord looked at her as a liability, because we have right here that some kind of way she had an eviction notice and she had to move out. Or it was transparent she looked at her children as a liability, or she felt like her children looked at her youngest child as a liability, like they didn't care. Or in jail, somebody looking at her as a liability, or the judge looking at her as a liability, or whoever it is, the court system or whoever. She had to start being responsible for herself, for no more lack, bills or anything like that. Or in jail with something, right? Because she had to be calm in herself and conquer this, that she had to move, that she needed rent money or whatever, or that she found out her 2 children was molesting her youngest child. I'm bruised inside. I'm bruised, but I'm still me inside. Or over here in jail. She gonna conquer something in jail. The time given or whatever it is, she gonna conquer. And she bruised inside because she don't know the cause of somebody's anger in jail maybe. Or somebody don't know hers, and here's some numbers, could be part of anything. Social phone number, cell number, inmate number, birthday, could be anything, part of anything. Amount of money or whatever. Or over here, she didn't know the cause of her daughter's anger, or her daughter didn't know the cause of hers, and it could be anything that's connected to her. She needed to see it to have the power of her mind at that time. As far as her daughter, or over here with jail, because she is entangled with a situation, the landlord and her daughter, her son, right at the time, molesting her little boy, wondering is it her fault some kind of way. Or over here with jail, entangled with somebody, connected with somebody, wondering if it's her fault because somebody, she must to build herself up, she was tearing the children down. Or the children was tearing down the youngest child to build themselves up. Or over here at jail some kind of way. Somebody did that to her. Or she is unfortunately, something didn't smell right to her at home. Or something didn't smell right as far as the people who was moving, the freezer and all of that, to say something is not right. Or in jail. Something don't smell right in the situation. Okay, it says right here, she is a wonderful conqueror. But she is hand in hand with a Judas. But the children was hand in hand with a Judas. And that would be their mother. But she was hand in hand with a Judas. Because she felt like her children was the Judas to her. She couldn't trust them at the time, or somebody in jail. Maybe she liked fashion at one point, but she couldn't control herself in her own skin, or somebody in jail. It says that you are no better than nobody else. She felt, as far as her children, they weren't no better than nobody else. They molested or whatever they did to her little boy, her youngest son, and she felt they were no better than nobody else. She was going to treat them like she would treat anybody else, and she did just that. She murdered them. If it was done to you, would you like that? So she felt like if it was done to either one of them, what they did to her little boy, would they like it? Or something as far as jail is like that. Because she is dealing with somebody sadistic. So either her daughter or her son was sadistic, or she was the sadistic one. Or over here in jail, she dealing with somebody sadistic that needs soul support. Because I don't know if her daughter was adopted, or she was adopted or raised by somebody else, Miss Blair, I mean, in her life. But either way, it's being blamed on being adopted. That's why Miss Blair was a monster to the children, or that's why her daughter, that one there, Stoni, or both of her children, whichever one it is, was a monster to the youngest child, anything like that. Parents shouldn't walk away, so she walked away. When she murdered the children, she walked away because she had a choice, and she made the choice. And she took herself away from her other children. So that means she walked away and got herself arrested. He is her youngest child. Will I ever know my mother, my parents? Will I ever know who born me? Because she wanted, as far as jail, she had to get away from an idiot at jail and take her power back. But as far as home, she wanted to get away from what she considered the idiots and take the power back, because she taken up for her little boy as far toward her other children. So it says right here that she existed for a bigger reason than what she thought. She praying to God some kind of way, or she needed to back then, because God said she had to build a path to build, not destroy. Caution, Miss Blair. Because help was a minute away, God said she could have called a hospital or anything to get the children diagnosed, or anything. She could have did something. She is doing something cognizable, or help is a minute away as far as in jail. She need to be strong, because she is dealing with somebody karma plague. Her daughter was karma plague, or she was, however it's flowing, or over here in jail. She had to seek what's been troubling her. I'm happy with my life, my color, no matter my color. So I don't think this at her house, this would be, unless she had some problems with her landlord and she lived in a place where it was a lot of people who didn't look like her, of another race, then we could go with this with her there. But other than that, if you go with jail, she around some people who is not her race. Guards or whoever it is, and talking down to her about her race. It says right here, she had to work hard on falling back in love with herself. Because it says right here, evidence shows that she's going to keep picking herself off the floor, off the ground, if a change didn't happen. So she felt like once she, God was saying that she needed to do what she needed to do to pay the bills and all, because she was going to keep picking herself off the ground or the floor. But evidence shows that that's what was going to be happening, as far as her son was going to keep getting molested if she felt like she needed to do something. But God says that she could have called some kind of helpline or something. Or over here at jail, she's going to keep picking herself off of the floor. Because evidence shows that if she ain't make some kind of change, because it was continued abuse with her son, right? Or her daughter, one of them. Either her daughter was a jack of all trades, or Miss Blair is. And with this card, it was continued abuse. So we have over here, or in jail, continued abuse, some kind of way, whatever the abuse is, and she dealing with a jack of all trades. So it says she had to seek what she is looking for, because freedom was calling for her, but will she answer freedom? So freedom was calling for her to answer her problem over here with picking herself off of the floor. And with this card, with the continued abuse, freedom was calling for her to stop the continued abuse. And she decided to murder her children. Because freedom was calling for her to get rid of that problem and stop it for good. Because she had to seek what she was looking for. Follow me? Or this could go with being in jail. Okay, she need to dig deep, find out why did she settle for less. Could be a relationship, or lies with her children, or something in jail, or whatever this is, right? But her children wanted her to take down the walls for love, right? And cheer on their achievements and look at some good things about them and forgive them. Or she might have had some problems with the children's father, or one of them father, where she is wondering why she settled for less. She had to dig deep to find out why. And she might have wanted whoever, the child's father, one of them father, to take down the walls for love, cheer on her achievements, look at some good things she did as a parent, as a mother. Okay, it says right here that you are getting your freedom from a fortress. So at home, she is getting her freedom from a fortress. I don't know if she wanted to go out more or whatever, because this is when you feel like you're trapped. So I don't know if she wanted to go out more, some kind of way. Like go out and have fun a little bit. And she was stuck home, raising the kids maybe. And she got her freedom out of there by going to jail. But as far as jail, she want her freedom from the jail. But maybe she in solitude somewhere, right? Someplace inside the jail, because it says she getting her freedom. So they're not going to let her out of jail. But maybe she in a certain room in the jail where you isolated, and they're going to let her go back out. Because she in some, whatever the area is, racist or political area where that jail at, or where she's living. She is getting her freedom. She lost her spouse. So if the man she loved or used to love didn't die, that means it just was a death to their relationship where it ended for good. She need to heal herself by coming forward, because some kind of way it was shortcutting, taking shortcuts as far as touching to see her children was, to see if they can go all the way with the youngest child. Or in jail, she or somebody toward her is taking shortcuts, that means touching on her to see if they can go all the way, or she is, because she want to get closer to a gay girl. Follow me? Or just get closer to a girl, but the girl is gay. So here we have at home, her children touching on the little boy. Wanted to get closer to a gay girl. So she wanted, the children wanted sensitiveness and softness from Miss Blair, or she wanted that in jail, or somebody wanted from her, because she had deep feelings about what happened at home. And one of them had some kind of skin disorder, or she had somebody in jail she dealing got a skin disorder, and have deep feelings about things. Skin disorders, just bumps, tattoos, moles, pimples, scars, eczema, freckles, dimples, whatever it is, wrinkles, whatever it might be. Some kind of actual skin disease or whatever. One of the children, or she did, or somebody in jail she dealing with, because she was a shark at the time to her children when she murdered the children, but she also looked at her children was a shark to her youngest child when they did all they did. And over here she dealing with a shark in jail, whoever the shark is. So it says she had to live the best life by getting healed, because she had to get healed from murdering her children for a recovery for a brighter future. because depression don't last for so long. Don't last, let me say it right. Depression is not meant for a lifetime. And God want her to choose her, and she chose her. But if we take this home, use this for home, depression don't last a lifetime, and she chose her. So she's worried up, angry, or anything like, angry and things like that. Angry, upset about what she heard that her other children did to her youngest one. And she decided to choose her. She chose her. That means she murdered them. So she wouldn't even have to keep feeling and thinking if they doing anything, or just think about what they did. And she just went the route she went. Okay, let's see. Is that it for Miss Blair? I don't know. Glory to God. This one right here. Whoa. It's deck 7. I heard that from Miss Blair. Okay, it says right here. She had to stay on her path, God says, Miss Blair, because her children had to find other ways of pleasure themselves. That mean go play with toys, look at TV, and do things like that, because they was doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. So they need to find other ways of pleasure themselves, play with toys, look at TV or whatever, because they was doing the wrong things. Also with Miss Blair in jail, she had to find other ways to pleasure herself. But God was saying that Miss Blair had to stay on her path, on both directions. So we have right here, letting off sexual tendencies. This would be the children toward the little one doing whatever they was doing, because they saw something, they learned something, or saw something from somewhere, and they was doing whatever they saw or heard, wherever it came from. Or in jail, she letting off her sexual tendencies. She had to have a clear mind with the children. So it says right here that look over your shoulders. You can get it anytime. So some kind of way. At that time, probably she was taking some kind of pills back then, or she taking some in jail. Anything like that. Okay. Some kind of way. She is on the speedway, or maybe the children's father was on the speedway. Somebody's on the speedway, or she just was on the speedway. And either she thinks somebody gorgeous, or somebody thought she was gorgeous in jail or out of jail, or whatever this is. Because here we got a man or a woman. She wanted to change the children's father, or her son who was molesting her other son, or her daughter, because we got two, a man or a woman, a girl or a boy. So we can put both of her children, boy and a girl. You see a he and a she. Whatever her children's names are, Stormy and whatever the other one name is. I don't know what his name is, because I didn't see it right away. She wanted them to change, bottom line. Or somebody in jail she wanted to change from. So we had thoughts were swirling in her mind at the duplex at her house when she heard about this situation, or thoughts swirling in her mind right now today at jail. It don't have to be this day, but this day and age, 2023. So we have right here, can you still love me now? You know. So her children, once she asked them and they told her the truth, could she still love them? Could she spare them? But she couldn't spare them. She didn't love them enough to spare them, because it just was too much for her to spare them. You can still do your God's mission if you like. God saying she still can do a God mission in jail, whatever God mission is. Because God had a mission for her, whatever it is. Whatever the mission is, she got one. Okay, I might as well not shuffle because it was sitting right there and it came right back out. Okay, do not wonder why the person is gay. Ask the person. So, I can feel my God's mission being gay. So, some kind of way in jail, she became gay. And she can still do God's mission. So we have being different just means that the person stand out. So her daughter Stormy stood out. And I guess her other son stood out. They was being different because they stood out because they did something that children shouldn't be doing. So they stood out. Get what the card's saying. With this storyline, they stood out. Being different just mean they stood out because they did something that usually children don't do. So it stood out. You are adorable. So the youngest child was adorable. But the other two children, they stood out. They did something different. They did something that children shouldn't even be doing. While having a blank look on their face. So what is next? Tearing each other down. So she got to fussing with the children however she did, one way or another, where they was on a battleground. Because she did a preview of what she felt happened to her youngest child. But her children is finally in a safe and happy place with spirit, with God. So we have, at that time period, when she got to see it now, she got to see what it was to see. Because she is dealing with somebody with backyard ways of thinking. Or she see it now that her landlord wanted her to move and she needed to move. So her landlord might have been a little racist. Or she just didn't want to come up to, she didn't want to believe something was true. But it was true. Or we dealing with jail. She dealing with somebody racist in jail. Anything like that. Or somebody who don't want to go along with what things is now. They want it to be the same way. Because we had, what is she willing to do to save herself? Back then, because it's all about money. So, to save her back then, what would she do to save her? And it's all about money is the children were stored in a freezer. And maybe she, it's all about money. She needed money as far as to pay the rent because she had an eviction notice some kind of way. So it's all about money that way as far as she needed money. That's why the eviction was happening and that's how the children got discovered. What would she do to save herself? So I don't know if she was getting money for the children. Even though they wasn't alive, she was still getting money for them. So to save herself, she had to continue to get the money or something in jail happened some kind of way. And it's all about money. That's what happened on her journey. Miss Blair. So we had, she pinpointed a problem and she complained as far as to her children. As far as something with her youngest child because he complained to his mother. And she was not going to postpone an active action. Or in jail some kind of way. She's dealing with somebody that's not going to postpone an active action or she not. Somebody who complained and pinpointed the problem or she did. So home, she was living a plantation way of living, not having enough love. Love, clothing, food, money. Or, food, clothing, money. Food, clothing, money, shelter, or love. In jail or back then when this happened. And life was falling apart for her back then because she was getting evicted. And in jail, life falling apart for her maybe right now. Okay. Her children needed to learn the lessons needed. She wanted them to learn the lessons needed. To be able to express their spirituality. So I don't know if she took them to church or what's going on here. But over here, this could go with her in jail. She had to be able to express her spirituality and learn all the lessons she needed to learn. Because we got a pain card or a drug card. So back then, taking some kind of pills or something, drug, some kind of pills, or she is in pain, or the children just was in pain, or in jail right now, some kind of way she in pain, or taking some kind of pills. Because it says somebody a genius and she didn't even know it. So she could have been a genius herself and she didn't even know it. Or one of her children. Or dealing with herself in jail or somebody in jail. Don't know Miss Blair's a genius. Anything like that. Because she wants something in print. Because back then, because she was getting evicted, so maybe they ain't giving something in print. Maybe the landlord sent people over, but she wanted something in print. But they start picking up stuff without having like something in print. Or maybe in jail somebody wants something. She wants something in print from somebody. As far as something, a receipt or anything like that to prove something. So she wanted to bring her into this happening to her youngest child, and the only way for her to bring her in was for her to murder the children. And for her not to be thinking about it constantly in her mind over and over again. You know, constant thoughts about it. So she chose her not to think about it over and over again because she was going to make sure it didn't happen again. Because she did say she wasn't sorry. So, yeah. But this is a storyline for Miss Mitchelle Blair.